Hey guys, and welcome back to Guitar by Emily. I'm so excited for today's video. Today I'm interviewing Michael Sweet from Stryper. I love Michael Sweet so much. I've met him 3 times now, I think. He is just a really nice, genuine person, and I obviously love him as a musician, and his guitar work, him and Oz Fox, have been a huge inspiration on me as a guitar player. So this is really cool for me to be able to do this today. I did want to share a little story. This picture right here was taken at a Stryper concert in July of 2023, so just a little over a year ago. And I had my photographer, Andrew, take a Polaroid picture of me and Michael Sweet. And at the time, I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. Absolutely, just was so excited about this picture because it turned out really cute. And I just love this picture so much. But it is really crazy that in a little over a year, I have been able to start social media, and I got to interview Michael and play his guitar a few months ago, and now I'm having him on my podcast. So it's just really cool to put things into perspective like that. I'm really thankful for these opportunities and really thankful for Michael agreeing to do this and taking his time to come on my podcast and do this episode. So I'm just super excited today. It's really cool, and I can't wait to do it. So make sure you like this video, you subscribe, leave a comment down below, and let's do this. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I'm really excited. I've wanted to do this for a while, but I just really needed to get my college stuff squared away for the semester, and I'm finally done. So I'm really excited we had the time to get this together. I have a lot I want to talk about today. I hope you're down to answer a lot of questions. Just kind of go from the beginning until now, and I definitely want to hit the new music a little towards the end. But let's start out just the beginning of Stryper. You and Robert, what made you decide that you two wanted to be musicians?
Well, we grew up in a musical family. So I always say we didn't have a choice, but I mean that in the best of ways. Uh, you know, from the time I was born, I was always uh, somehow physically drawn to music. So when I was a 1 year old, 2 year old, 3 year old, whenever my parents would put on music, I could be sitting perfectly still. Then they would put on music and I would start doing what they called bopping. And I would bop back and forth. And I would just do that until the music stopped. And as I would bop, I would make up lyrics, my own lyrics about my grandma as I got a little older.
Yeah.
Um, so it was just such a part of my DNA and who I am. And as we got a little older, my parents bought me a guitar. My brother got a drum set, and we started playing. I was 5, he was 8. And then as we got older, my brother grew up a little faster than I did. And he was into other things that, a 15-year-old would be in. And I was into other things that a 12-year-old would be in. So, he had his band and I was doing bratty stuff 12-year-olds do. And then I finally joined his band. He allowed me to join his band. And as they say, the rest is history. Now, my parents are performers as well. So I grew up in that lifestyle of my parents on weekends performing, babysitters watching us, that whole thing. My parents were managed by Mike Curb. They were in all those old Doom Buggy movies back in the 60s. And my dad wrote a #1 country song. So we're we're a musical family.
Musical
Very,
family.
very musical. Everyone sings, everyone performs. We have reunions, and everybody would break out guitars and start singing, and it was awesome.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So at what point did you two decide that you wanted to change? I know you were in a band and you decided to change the name of the band and go all in on the Christian metal music. At what made the decision there?
Well, we became Christians when I was 12. My brother was 15 through Jimmy Swaggart. And we kind of walked away from Christianity and the church. Probably, I'm going to say around the age of my late 13, early 14 years, and for me, and did the whole LA club scene at a very early age. I played the whiskey when I was 15.
Wow.
So I was playing clubs. I looked older than I was. I never really got carded or asked, how old are you? Otherwise, I wouldn't have been allowed in the clubs.
Right.
But I was playing all these clubs at a very early age, and we were living that lifestyle, unfortunately. And I rededicated my life when I was 20 years old. And that's when we decided to be real about our faith and be real about our music and our spirituality and combine the two. So that's what we did. We took a bold stand. Nobody else was doing that. We had a feeling that we'd get some flack for it, but we didn't care because that was where our heart's desires, were, and we did it. And the rest is history. And we still get flack to this day. We're not Stryper's really unlike any other band out there. And I think a lot of people, they don't really know what to think of us.
Hmm.
It's rock and roll. Rock and roll is supposed to be just about, escaping reality and just having fun. But when you have a band that's playing rock and roll but telling you about Jesus, it's like all of a sudden you're not escaping reality. You're faced you're
Right.
faced with like the biggest reality of all. So, uh, it's I hate this saying, but I'm going to use it, even though I hate it. It is what it is. It's the way it works. But we're very fortunate and blessed that we've been able to break ground and break down walls, considering the fact that we don't fit in anywhere.
I think it's really special because I've heard you say this before. Stryper is there, and there are people that will go to your concerts that maybe they'll never step foot into a church, but they might hear something at your concert or catch one of the Bibles that makes a difference. So I think that makes all the difference right there. I think it's wonderful. I think it's incredible you guys made that stand, and I think you're doing a great thing.
Well, I appreciate that. We appreciate that. That's very kind of you. I mean, we're just trying to, the music. We love music. We enjoy cranking up the amps. You played through my amp in that loud, like, it's like it's a rush, and it's awesome, and I love that. But the most important thing to me and us is to inspire people and encourage people and direct people towards a better way. At the end of the day, the music is gone, the amps are off, everyone goes home. But then what? Then there's the rest of your life and eternity once we're gone. So that's really the most important thing. So that's why it means so much to us to be able to tell people about God, through our lyrics. And we don't beat them over the heads with it, although they get hit in the head with Bibles sometimes, literally. uh, we don't go out there and preach and push it on people. We just go and put on a show and hope that someone says, oh, I want that. I want to be a better person, and I want to go to church and I want to do this, I want to do that. If that happens, it's amazing.
Absolutely. So, is it true that in the early days of the band, when you were looking for another guitarist, that CC DeVille was considered for the band?
That is true. Yep. Can you believe that?
So, what's this? How did that come to be? How'd you meet CC?
I was standing on Sunset Boulevard in front of Gazzari's, and this guy comes up, and we run into each other, and I'm like, oh, this guy's cool. He's got a cool look, and he's fun, and I consider myself to maybe be fun as well. I don't know, but we hit it off, and we started talking, started laughing, and he was out from New York looking for a better way, trying to break like every other musician at that time. A lot of people were moving to LA. LA was the hot spot,
Right.
not Nashville, and, Austin, and it was LA. That's where you wanted to be if you wanted to make it. And CC came out, and we became friends. We eventually invited him down to the garage in La Mirada, about 45 minutes from Hollywood, and we jammed. And we were actually considering from both sides forming. And the thing that made him make the decision to say no was the whole yellow and black.
Really?
And that's what I recall. Yeah, that's what I recall. And
That's
you,
hilarious.
you might get a different version from him if you interviewed him, but I remember him specifically saying, yeah, I'm not into the yellow and black. I'm more into pink and purple.
Yeah.
He actually said that. And that was kind of,
Wow.
yeah, that's what kept us from moving forward. And we also jammed and auditioned and talked to Doug Aldridge
Okay.
about joining the band as well.
Wow. So, leading from that, how did Oz join the band?
Well, we went to school with Oz, and
Okay.
we were schoolmates. And I was a freshman, and he was a junior, and my brother was a senior. So one year we all went to school together. Um, he used to give me and my buddy Greg rides home in his Datsun pickup, and we would crank, Priest, uh, Maiden, um, Van Halen, Scorpions, all the good stuff. And we would just that was our bond. That was what brought us together and formed that bond, and we became friends. And eventually he joined the band. But before Oz, excuse me, before Oz, we went through quite a few guitar players, and we were actually a trio for a while as well. I was the guitar player in the band, only guitar player in the band, and that was fun too. There's a picture of us out there on the internet you might be able to find and post. It's pretty scary. Um, we fit right into 2024, but back then it was frightening. You got to you'll see what I mean when you see
Oh, that's
it.
funny. And while we're talking about Oz, I would like to ask, how's Oz doing right now?
He's doing great, as far as I
Good.
know, unless there's something I don't know.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. It was really great to see him at the concert a few months ago. Really great to see you guys all out there.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And I think for all of us, it feels great to be home and during the Christmas season to be able to just chill and hang out, go to dinner, and I go out and pick up leaves in my yard, and it feels good. It's awesome. It's
Awesome.
better than lugging the suitcases out of the bays every day and doing that.
Right, right.
You got to understand, you're just you're a very young person. I won't ask you your age. That's not polite. But you're very young. So someday you'll get the whole living out of a suitcase thing and traveling, and it gets old. It can get old sometimes.
Totally can see that. I'm sure it does. So moving on into the 80s, you released Yellow and Black Attack in 84, Soldiers in 85, To Hell with the Devil in 86. I want to talk a little bit about Free and Honestly became the most requested song on Dial MTV for a time. And do you think that MTV and the airplay that you guys got helped get Stryper into the mainstream?
Oh, for sure, without question. Yeah, Calling on You, Free and Honestly, those songs went to number one on MTV. And it was interesting because they helped us, but at the same time, they resisted. So, what I mean by that is prior to them playing our videos, the first video they played was a video called You Know What to Do.
Mhm.
And they didn't want to play it. We had to really basically beg them to play it. Eventually, they did. They put it on late at night, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., played it once a week, that kind of thing. And then they started playing Soldiers, but they didn't want to play that either. They always had some reason why they didn't want to play our videos. They were too patriotic, too Christian, too this, too that. There was always some written excuse. And we just felt like, wow, that's really weird because there's this video that's basically doing the same thing, but you're playing that. Um, and then what happened was they started Dial MTV, and then it was up to the fans, not MTV. So when they did that, all of our fans called and we beat out Bon Jovi, Poison, Motley Crue like weekly. It was wild. And if you were around back then and you saw it, you'd probably be in shock, just like we were, just like probably everybody was. Like, wait a minute, what? This Christian band, Bumblebee looking band, what? They're beating out these guys? No way. Come on. It was that kind of thing. And we were because we had such an incredible fan base and they were so supportive and so loyal. Not that the other guys didn't, that we were able to accomplish that, and that projected us to a new place without question. So yes, indirectly, absolutely, MTV had a big impact on Stryper breaking.
hmm
If
I've
if
talked
you
to
want
a
to,
couple other guys, different bands, and it seems like it all circles back to MTV. You had to be on MTV if you were going to be anyone. Like that's where people saw it. That's so,
totally,
yeah, I really
absolutely,
cool.
MTV was the YouTube of the day. Now it's YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, no question about it. It was such a powerful force, and You, like I said, if you're in a hair band, you wanted to be in LA and you wanted to get on MTV. No question.
So you're touring, you're putting out all this music in the 80s, right in the middle of all of it, and then you're throwing Bibles out at concerts. No one's ever done this before. Whose idea was it?
My brother might take credit for that, but I don't think it was his idea. Just don't tell him. Uh, I think it was uh, a guy by the name of Michael Guido, our pastor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Michael Guido. He was the guy that traveled with us from the very beginning and kind of helped keep us on the straight and narrow. And he still comes out and travels with us from time to time, not as much, but he goes out with so many bands, Michael W. Smith, uh, all the big Christian bands he goes out with and to kind of help direct them and keep their eyes on the prize, so to speak. But yeah, he's an incredible guy. And we started throwing those out, and they were just Bibles, little pocket-sized Bibles. And I remember after the audience would clear, we would go back out to pack up our gear, and there'd be Bibles all over the floor. And it used to really bother me because I think, wait a minute, this is weird. This is a waste. They're not taking the Bibles. Then we started putting stryper stickers on them, and I've never seen one Bible left since.
That's crazy.
It
Crazy. I
just
guess
turned
the
it
marketing is everything.
it it turned it into a collectible, and this like you said, yeah, marketing, a piece of merch or what have you, and to this day, it's the most sought after stryper item.
I got to catch one at the last concert, and that was like bucket list item. I'd sitting on my table back there. I absolutely love it. So that's so cool.
That is awesome.
So during all of this going on, the band received some criticism for, conforming to the glam metal look and the sound. What was your response to that during the time?
Well, I mean, I say this as humbly as possible. We we definitely didn't follow anybody's lead. Uh, if you go back and you find pictures and you find audio of us performing as Rock's Regime, this is back in 80, 81, 82, 83. We had the same kind of look and sound, and there weren't a lot of bands that did. I don't know if there were any bands. We were playing with Mickey Rat, which became Rat, um, Poison, at the country club, and we had our own thing. I mean, and everybody used to comment on that, like, "You guys are different, love it or hate it." Wow, really different. We had a different look. We had a different sound. It was always this merge of metal, like from Priest, because we grew up on Priest and Maiden, but then we loved Journey and Loverboy and Survivor. So there was always this merge, a little bit of the pop sense mixed with the metal, and not a lot of bands were doing that.
I totally get that because, Yellow and Black Attack came out in 84. And, we didn't see albums like Slippery When Wet, Look What the Cat Dragged In until 86, 87, 88. And you guys were doing it early. So you definitely, like, even though maybe when people are naming names of bands that, got all of this going and were the early pioneers, maybe they don't bring up Stryper, but they probably should because you guys really were like the start of, that genre and you were doing something different. So yeah, I think that's really cool.
We were definitely, if not the start of it, we were definitely there at the start of it, and along with a lot of other bands, and on the forefront, for sure. And I always include the pre-Striper days, the Rocks Regime days, and if you do that, which was really Striper, I was in Rocks Regime for a year and a half or two before we were Striper. So if you include that, absolutely. And we were yellow and black back then and everything. We just weren't called Striper. Playing a lot of these songs, Loud and Clear, and all the songs from Yellow and Black Attack. And it was definitely very different. But what was interesting is we felt more part of the club back then. But then once we changed our lyrics and we became quote unquote Christian, we were kicked out of the club. We weren't part of the club at all. We weren't cool anymore, and that's okay. Totally fine. I get it. But we wouldn't change a thing. No regrets whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's great. And anyone in any band for any reason should not change what they started for or why they love creating music because every musician is different and no one has to conform to any standards. And I think that's really cool that you guys have always stood by that.
For sure. Be yourself, you know,
Yeah.
be original. When you start a band, if you start a band, I'm not sure what your plans are, but if you do, and when you do, do it for you. You know, don't do it for anyone else. Don't do it for other people because then you're compromising, and as that old term, sell out. It's art. Be artistic and make the art that you want to make, and express yourself how you want to express yourself. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's what's going to make people want to listen.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice for anyone wanting to, get into the music industry or who is in the music industry. I think that's really great.
Well, yeah, it's important. I think sometimes we all forget that. We've done it. When you're trying to stay relevant, and a band from '84 in 2024 trying to still get airplay or bring in new people or whatnot, and you try new things, you experiment, and sometimes you sell yourself out because you become something you're not. You try to be a modern rock band, you're not a modern rock band. You're a hair band. You're an '80s metal band. Be that,
Right.
but be it to the best of your abilities.
So moving on into the 90s, you guys released Against the Law, which I've heard mixed reviews about it, but I personally think it's great. But the sound is different from the 80s. So what was the thinking? Were you just moving into the 90s as the music was changing, or did you guys make that decision? How did that happen?
Well, I think sometimes there's a misinterpretation of my love hate for that album. I don't hate it, and I don't love it. Um, I respect it for what it is. It's a good album. We had one of the best producers in the world, Tom Werman, one of the best engineers, Eddie Delana. Uh, we recorded it at the record plant, and some of the best studios in the world. It turned out great. But the thing I'm not proud of with that album is as I was just saying, selling out. I feel like we sold out. Um, Lyrically, we started trying to be another band.
Hmm.
Talking about going to parties, hanging out, two-time woman, all this stuff.
Hmm.
It didn't feel right for me singing it.
Hmm.
Some of those lyrics, they felt wrong. So it was a sellout for me. Musically, I feel it was a bit of a sellout. It sounded a little bit more Van Halen-ish at times
Hmm.
than Stryper at times. Stryper has a very unique sound. We should be proud of that. Not try to run from that. And then we lost the yellow and black, which is such a important, integral part of who we are. We kind of threw everything out the window and said, let's start over,
Hmm.
which is weird. So that's why I have regrets about and for that album.
Hmm. I totally understand that. Yeah, that totally makes sense. But definitely every album is a stepping stone to the next place. So definitely led into some other albums, in the 2000s that kind of blend the more modern sound with the 80s sound. And I think it's really cool.
Oh, good, cool.
Yeah,
You know what? I got to say, I'm really happy that you are a fan, that you like what we do. That's awesome. It
I
blows my
love it.
mind, and that's one of the biggest surprises at every show is to see the younger generation coming and getting our music and you know appreciating what we do. It blows my mind. It's really cool.
Well, I first started listening because my dad introduced me to it. When he was a kid, his mom, grew up in a Christian home, and Stryper was the one band that she was okay with because he had to talk her into it at first because the to hell with the devil. But after he talked her into it, she was okay with it. But he introduced me to the band, and then I started playing guitar, and you and Oz are just, two of the biggest guitar inspirations. You guys are great. And so
Oh,
it's just all around really great band. I'm really inspired by you guys.
that's amazing. That is so awesome. Yeah, and it is funny because back in the day, I've heard so many stories about people who either couldn't listen to us because they were brought up in a Christian family and we were too much, or we were the only band they could listen to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were brought up in a Christian family, and it's very interesting. And some kids got sent home from school, public schools, for wearing "To Hell with the Devil" shirts to school. Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. So speaking of guitar and guitar influences, one of my other big influences is Mr. George Lynch. So Sweet and Lynch, which also I'm just huge fan of Sweet and Lynch, and I think a lot of people don't even know about it. I brought it up on my channel before, and people are like, "What is this?" And
I
it's
know.
really cool that you guys have worked together. But how did that even start? Like, how did you guys meet? How did you guys decide you're going to work together?
Well, I've our paths have crossed many times over the years, George and I. And he came to see Stryper play in Phoenix, Arizona, years ago. And we've kind of there's a mutual, at least I think, a mutual respect. I certainly respect him immensely. I'd put him in my top 5 guitar players. I love George. But anyway, basically, Frontiers approached me about doing a project. They wanted me to produce and write and sing a Dokken-ish album. And they wanted to get John Levin, who plays in Dokken, guitar player, who's phenomenal. But he's basically, doing all the George licks. And I said to Serafino, who owns Frontiers, I said, why don't we just get the real guy?
Yeah.
If you want to do a Dokken kind of thing, let's get George. And he said, oh, this is a great idea. Do you know him? I said, yes, I do. I reached out, and that was it. George said, yeah, I'm in. And then I wanted to get, the best drummer and the best bass player for the album and the job. And that was, in my opinion, Brian Tishy and James Laminzo, who plays in Megadeth now. 2 incredible players. So it was a really killer band. We did some cool stuff. And I love the first album especially. It's probably my favorite out of the 3. But yeah, you're right. Not a lot of people know about it, which is sad. I think everyone should know about it because it's really cool. If you
Yes.
like Stryper and you like Dokken, you're going to love Sweet and Lynch.
Absolutely. Okay, so now that Stryper is on a break from touring, and I know that you're tired from touring right now, but George is about to finish up the Lynch Mob tour. Is there any chance that in the future you guys would do some shows together?
I'll tell you, Emily, I have tried so many times to gently, nudge George. And it just doesn't happen. I mean, even when we're on Monsters of Rock cruise, I say, man, let's do one song. And that doesn't even happen. And I'm not really sure why. No judgment on George. George always says we need to go and rehearse, and I'm a rehearse stickler. Like Stryper will rehearse for 4 days, and the guys are fine with that. And I'm like, we need 8 days. I you can never rehearse enough. So I get it. I'm with George on that, but it just never happens. And maybe someday it will, but we better hurry up because we're not getting any younger.
Absolutely. I would love to see it. I mean, I'm just holding out hope that someday maybe it'll happen because seeing you two together would be really cool.
It would be really, really cool. And I bet we'd have the time of our lives. And it really, the only way I would want to do it is with James and Brian
Hmm.
as well, the original lineup. And, we'd have to just around our busy schedules try to make that work. But I think it's doable, possible.
So, talking about you as a guitarist, I got to play your guitar, which was so cool. But t what guitars were you playing in the 80s?
Back in the 80s, when we first started, I basically late 70s, early 80s, I would I would work to save money. I loaded catering trucks. I would get up at 3 a.m. and work from 4 to 7 and then go to school at 8 and then come home and sleep until I raised enough money to buy my own gear. And I bought mini guitars over the years. Early on, I used to play Dean guitars. I had a gold top Les Paul that I played. I bought a Gibson V from Stephen Piercy way back in the day. And these all got taped, unfortunately. Um, and so I was playing a lot of different guitars, very eclectic mix. And then I did a deal with Jackson guitars. And that's all I played exclusively. From when I bought my first Jackson in '84, from that point on, that's all I played. Jackson guitars, and we I think we really were an important band for Jackson, along with many others that helped put Jackson on the map. And then Grover Jackson, and we kind of went our separate ways. And now, I did a Washburn deal. I'm looking at a bunch of them here on the wall, and now I'm with Sully Guitars. And I don't know if you're familiar with those. That's the one you played.
Yes.
They're really amazing. To me, and I'm not just saying this because I play them and I'm endorsed by them, but they feel most similar to old Jacksons out of any guitar in the world. And I played a lot. And when you pick those up, if I'm blindfolded, I'd say this is a Jackson. This is an old Jackson. Take the blindfold off. What? It's a Sully. And that's how they feel to me. And I love them. And I love John Sullivan, who builds them as well. He's a great guy. And what a fantastic company. And I'm proud and honored to be a part of it.
It definitely looks super cool. And, when I played it, it played great. Absolutely loved it. Really cool. I'm always keeping my eye out for one of the Washburns, like on Reverb and stuff, because they're not in stock anymore. And I waited around and now I'm kind of just keeping my eye out because I love Washburn guitars. And definitely an N4 is on my list. And then your signature is on my list from Washburn.
I'll tell you what, the Washburns are really cool. Those were made to spec. So in other words, they weren't like any other guitar they made. I played PRS guitars when I was in Boston, and I love the feel of a custom 24 PRS. The neck radius on that and the way they felt, medium jumbo frets. I just loved everything about it. So Washburn built those necks exactly like a custom 24 PRS. Don't tell PRS that, but it's true, and I love them. And the Sullys are similar, very very similar, maybe even a little better in terms of how they feel neck wise. But the Washburns are cool. There's a few of them out there. I've seen them. There's a local shop that has a couple of them. And if you really do decide that you want one, let me know, and I'll try to hook you up and figure something out.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. Definitely keep that in mind. So,
Okay.
looks like we got about 5 minutes left here on the call, but I wanted to talk about the new album because it's really cool. I think that you guys, this is, in my opinion, the best album that blended the new sound with the old. I think it goes so well. And I'm not like the biggest fan of modern metal, but the way you guys do it, I really like it. I really enjoy listening to it. So, if you could tell the fans something about this album, what would you want them to know about it?
The album, thank you. That is awesome to hear. We try when I write songs, I sit down and I write. I get everything out, my computer, my gear, and whatnot, and I write a song a day. And then after 12 days, I send them out to the guys. They learn them. We get together, we rehearse them, we record. And what I always try to do when I write is merge the past with the present. So it's important to not alienate our fans that love that sound from the 80s. But at the same time, it's also important to kind of step into 2024 and give it little modern flavors here and there. I agree with you. I'm not into a lot of modern rock bands as well. And it's usually based on two things: vocals and guitar solos.
Yes.
There's just always seems to be something missing or too far gone or too different for me. So I get you on that. I'm with you. But at the same time, you got to incorporate some modern flares with the production, and we try to do that. We really work hard on that, and hopefully we accomplish it, and people seem to like it. We did a classic set for an hour, half-hour break, then a modern set. Nobody left for the modern set that I'm aware of. So that's saying something. People like the modern music of Stryper as much, I think, hopefully, as much as the past, as the classic music.
And if someone was going to listen to one song from the new album, what song would you want them to listen to?
I would say one of my favorites. I love When We Were Kings. I love the groove of that, the swing. And I love Betrayed by Love. That's really cool. A rock ballad. I'd say those two probably, but then there's some real cool heavier stuff too. every song's different. Every song has its own stamp and signature.
That's one thing about your music that I have always noticed, that all the songs don't sound the same, which some bands they kind of fall into that. And like every song on the album sounds different, has its own unique little touch. So I think that's really neat.
It's a little pet peeve of mine. I enjoy albums that have every song, it has its own different, unique sound. Those are the albums I'm drawn to. I don't enjoy as much the albums where every song is almost a continuation of the first song, second song, third song, fourth song. I like a little bit more diversity, and that's just me. So that's what we try to do as well. Do a heavy song, like, whoa, oh my gosh, that's heavy. And then the next song isn't as heavy. It's like, oh wow, this is different. Then the next song is a little more poppy, like Grateful. It's like, wait, what? This almost sounds like Bon Jovi. What is this? And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, we like doing that. It mixes it up. It's fun.
It is. I really love it. All right, so that's all the questions I had for today. Again, thank you so much. This was really fun, and I hope we can do it again sometime. But yeah, thanks so much.
Emily, I just want to say you're doing an amazing job. And I love to see where you're going, and you're just taking off. It's awesome. I love it. Thank you for talking to me. You don't have to. You probably have a list of other people that you want to talk to, and they want to talk to you, and you talk to me. So that's very, very awesome. I appreciate it, and all the best to you and your family. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and come out and see us again, and come up and plug in. All right.
Okay, absolutely. I'll hold you to it. All right.
Okay. Sounds
Well,
great.
thank you. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye. All right, again, I want to say a really big thank you to Michael Sweet for doing this. I had so much fun. That interview was great, and I just really enjoyed getting to sit down and talk to you. So thank you, Michael, so much. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned some stuff about stryper. I definitely did, and I thought that was a really fun interview. Hopefully we get to do it again some other time and talk about some more stuff. But definitely make sure you give this video a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below of who you want to see on the podcast next, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.